Michael, welcome back to the AWS series. Last two sessions, we looked at why AWS reInvent is worth investing. And also, the second part was why AWS matters to your internal sales team. Today, we're getting practical. We're doing a bit of a how-to piece, which is how to build a winning AWS partner plan. Most partners have intent, but very few actually turn that intent to measurable outcomes. So, just to give your insight, you've seen loads of partners, hundreds of partners, I'm sure, at different stages. What separates the ones who talk about partnering with AWS from the ones who actually succeed?
It's a great question. I think for everyone, it's a little bit different, but the context is AWS in their partner network, the APN, has 150,000 global partners, right? The reality is, even if you're this little startup and you have this commitment and you've built your technology on AWS and you think that they should be a good partner, truth is you're still competing with the biggest of ISVs and SIs that have been partnering with AWS for months, years, decade. That's how the scoreboard kind of looks. But if you just break down the like how to get started and what should be important, the plan is really a forcing function to put your thoughts on paper. And if you know anything about AWS, AWS is a writing culture. They write a lot of narratives. That's one way that they extend their culture out to you is by putting your plan on a page and thinking about an alignment. But what I would say the most critical elements are your executives understanding, seeing value, realistic expectations, and leaning into the partnership in some way. And the way that they could do that is by saying the words, like you said, but also their actions and investments make a big deal. So, one of the things is, does the company have a dedicated sales team, right? Or is it still small and founder led sales? Right? That signals that like you're starting to build a sales playbook, you're hiring people in different regions, you're starting to scale up your pipeline generation and revenue. And the second I would say is, has the company invested in some kind of indirect folks, channel people, alliance people? The names doesn't matter, but their goal is to start to build relationships and either leads or marketing or branding or a lot of these things. And one of the questions that AWS will ask, but also look at, is there someone at your company who pretty much 100%, or maybe in the beginning, a percentage of their time is dedicated to the AWS partnership? So, two things: leadership, buy in, support, and then putting their money where their mouth is, where they've started to hire people where their job goals, responsibilities, and function is actually building and working on the partnership. I think we'll get into some other things like what's in it, what metrics, and all of that. Without those two things, I always just say it's not even about scale. It's like you didn't even plant the seed, so you can't expect the apple tree at the end. Like you have to do these very basic things. And that signals to AWS too. They look at you like that and they say, we invest in the partners that invest in us.
The first thing that I always start with, as you say, it's around alignment, alignment of the C level. I always use a six pager, the AWS six pager, and then make
Yeah.
sure that the C level sign up to that six pager. Obviously, they have
Yeah.
to contribute. Also reflects what their intent is and what their
Yeah.
intent is with the company in terms of mission, vision, what are the goals, but also it reflects the partnership and the go-to-market strategy,
Yeah.
specifically with partners overall, but then also with AWS. And I think that written down, and if you really approach it in the AWS way, where you sit down for the first 10 minutes and read the six pager, everyone is on the same page,
Yeah.
literally, and that provides clarity. So I think that's really important.
So you hit it, and I think about it too. Like the very beginning of that partner plan, like AWS's template format, it's actually now no inside of your APN partner portal, you literally can add your partner plan, words, metrics, goals, and track it around the year. At the beginning, that top section is what it's about us. But what do you put in that? What are you trying to in that six pager or even in that section that they have in the template? Like it's about what? About the better together, right?
It's about the better together. It's about finding that mutual goal, right? So what's in
Yeah.
it for you? What's in it for them? And
Yeah.
it's understanding, okay, so are you there to help the co-sell activity? Are you there to help consumption for AWS? And what does that look like? And then understanding what's the regional focus, what's the vertical focus, and
Hmm.
what are the requirements on both sides to make that sticky
Yeah.
and relevant. And it has to be kept simple on both sides because there's so much noise going on, depending on the size of ISV or partner in general, the AWS partner. But also, and we keep on coming back to this, AWS has 150,000 products and services. There is no way they're going to remember all of them. So it
Yeah.
has to be kept simple, and there has to be a message that is literally resonating with both parties. And
Yeah.
ultimately, sales is coin operated. So they
Yeah.
need to have a comp plan that's coin operated. Now, normally within a 6 pager, and it depends on the CFO, I try to put some sort of spiff within the compensation package of the partner sellers, drive behavior. What do you think is a strong, actionable partner plan? What does it actually include in your mind?
So, like most things, I start with the finish line or the asks and then work my way backwards, which ironically enough, if AWS, this is like one of their mantras is working backwards from the customer. I always think of what's the outcome I'm after for that year or 2 or 3 years. Like this, I always think if I was going to run a marathon, like you don't just wake up one day and decide to run, tens of miles. Like you have to build up to that endurance and that level. So I always think what are the realistic goals that we could make and what are the realistic asks that I want of my partner to maybe help contribute to achieving our goals. But in the beginning, these are probably just about your goals. So I would say the truth is the three metrics that matter the most forever in your partnership, but especially in the beginning: pipeline, revenue, and marketplace revenue.
Yeah.
Everything else, competencies, co-build integrations, all these other things are important, but the way that they level all 150,000 partners and score people and decide who's the best, there's a lot of other soft influence, but the hard inputs are those three. The truth is, I really want to help the company and I really want to build fantastic partnerships. And it's a two-way street. They're interviewing me for talent and capabilities, but I'm interviewing them for, man, if the CFO hates AWS, doesn't want to sell through the marketplace and never going to change his mind, I'm destined for failure. Like, why do I even want to walk into that? So, say his point is, I don't have to talk to the CFO to know that. I could talk to my new boss. I can talk to my new boss's boss. I can talk to peers in the organization. What you and I are talking about is true to all partners.
Yep.
We're just talking about AWS, but I could flip it and talk about Google or Microsoft or Accenture or a VAR. It usually I'm the smaller entity chasing the help of a much larger organization that doesn't need us. So as selfish as we want to be, bring me leads, I want revenue, all of that stuff, you haven't earned the right to get any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it goes back to that executive buy-in, but also executive expectation alignment. And I do using growing an apple tree, but it would be the same if I said, hey, I'm going to grow this seed and I want apples in 6 months. There isn't trees that grow that fast and produce fruit that fast. It's a much longer period. So if that's what you want, well, then we have to approach the problem differently. We need to probably take money out of our pocket and go buy apples at the market down the street. So, in business terms, what does that mean? If I'm growing this partnership with AWS and I'm selling through the marketplace or I'm co selling, those are technically free. I can co sell and chase a seller and go talk to them and extract and learn. That's all free. I
Yeah.
can transact through the marketplace, which has a lot of value for me, and it costs me 3% anywhere around the globe.
Which is incredible,
If
right?
I went and bought pipeline and built a partner program and gave away margin, I promise you, I built these. It ain't 3%. So the
Good.
cost of that apple is a lot higher than growing. That's why people might say, oh, I'm going to grow an orchard and it's going to cost me 10 cents over the next 2 years to grow this apple. And then I'm going to sell it. And my 3% or my 3 cents was a lot cheaper than my 15 to 30%, right? Your cost of goods sold is, and so you have to do all these strategies at once. But at least there, it's different for every company, but I just try to figure out what that company wants, what that executive wants and expects. And if it's outlandish, I try to steer them closer to reality.
We've talked for quite some time. In terms of just wrapping up, why does the partner plan mean so much? Why does it change something for the AWS partner? If you didn't have one, what's the difference?
Honestly, I'm not in love with writing plans or whatever. I just like doing the work, but it does force you and commit you to what I said before, which is AWS or most partners will invest in partners that are investing in them. And this is even like one of those exercises that aligns, hey, we have this plan, we have these goals. Here's the work that we're going to do. Here's some of the things you could do to help and ask in some of our gaps, but that alignment and then just the throughout the year it's the execution. Like we actually would take all the elements of the plan, we would put them in the portal or in a smart sheet or a spreadsheet, and then honestly every week, month, we would just track against the plan. So if I said, hey, I'm going to do 100 ace co-sell launches, if I'm in the middle of the year and I've done 50, okay, I'm on track. If I've done 10, I'm not really on track. So either was the goal wrong or was our execution wrong or whatever. And I can't control all these variables, but maybe I only submitted 10 deals and of those 10, 10 closed. Yeah, then why didn't I submit 100? Why I think it's important, it aligns my company and what we agreed to do and justify me or my team's time to building this partnership and the apple tree. It's, oh, someone's going to have to water it a few days a week. Someone's going to have to fertilize it monthly or quarterly. Someone's going to have to pull weeds so that the tree doesn't get smothered. Like, that's the pruning and the maintaining of the tree to go get the rewards and the outcomes we want. We got to measure it and make sure we're on track. And the thing about goals with AWS is if you say, I'm going to do 40% year over year growth with this metric, and I do that, they start to go, oh, I like that. That's a partner that we like and trust. Maybe we should go throw more people, effort, resources, money at them to help them continue accelerate. So I think that's what you're after is you're after doing these things to hit your goals, the commitment on both sides, both company and partner to the goals. And then just it's not fun. It's rinse and repeat and do all the hard work. And but what happens is just like the tree is, wow, I forgot I planted that thing a couple years ago, and now I've got this whole tree of full of apples, and I can eat some, I could sell some, I can trade some, I can donate some. Like you forget it, that now you start seeing the fruits of your labor, and that's usually what you want in these partners. This is amazing. Or your example, we did this work, we did the right things, and oh my gosh, we got two actually real referrals from AWS to help us because they know now, they at least know us enough that we can maybe help their customer.
Yeah.
And so those are just like all the little wins. And I don't predict them. I'll give you the other analogy. I start today. I tell someone, hey, it's going to take 2 years to go get apples on the tree. And then the CR goes, great. How many bushels of apples are we going to get in 2 years? And I'm like, I don't know. It's unpredictable, right? We'll just do all the right things. And that's the hard part too, is just forecasting the future. And I said, if we do all the right things, all the right leading indicators and all the right activities, trust me, the output happens. But it's really hard to predict predictable outcome over time because that partner, I'm telling you, just they don't do it for anyone.
Michael, thank you so much once again. Really appreciate your time. And the next one I'll be doing from Dubai. So that'll be interesting.
Amazing. Love it.